Okay, she's recording. So I just want to ask if everybody can go to the link in our Instagram bio, and if you have a chance, the Long Beach Post, we're nominated for 5 categories, but for a town campaign, maybe to win Best Boutique in a city would just be such an honor. So we're currently in 4th place out of like about 30 different boutiques that we love so much in Long Beach, and for us to be this highly regarded in such a short time, I'd appreciate it if you vote for us and look at the other categories. Best Boutique is at the very, very bottom of the whole poll survey. There's like 30 pages. So if you would take the time and vote for Fairtrade Long Beach, I'd really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, that's excellent. Thank you, Teresa. And thank you everybody for your patience with me as I figured that out. So we are going to do some introductions and things so we can hear a little bit more about what everybody is up to, but just a couple of housekeeping things really quick. Just keep yourself muted. I know we've been on Zoom for over 1.5 years now, so you all know this, but keep yourself muted. And if you have any questions or responses for folks as they're talking, just go ahead and add them to the chat box. And we can either save them for the discussion portion of the call, or else, you can have your own side conversations in the chat box if you'd like. And then once the discussion portion comes along, the floor will be a little bit more open for everybody to chat. So let's go ahead and get started with some introductions. So I introduced myself, Kylie introduced herself, and then from everybody else, just in about 1 minute or so, I would like you to tell us your name, and I'm going to put all this in the chat. So your name, your campaign, the status of your and then a sort of rose and thorn over the last year that's related to your campaign. So something really exciting that's happened and something that's been a little bit more difficult to overcome. I know if you can get a little bit specific, that would be great, because I know COVID in general has been kind of everybody's thorn. But we would really love to hear the exciting things that have happened with your campaigns as well. And I just added all of those in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and just call on people. I find it a little bit easier than popcorning. So Teresa, would you like to start? You kind of already told us something exciting about your campaign.
Yeah, I was just trying to put the link in the chat for the Best of Long Beach with the Long Beach Post. You can just kind of like Google that. That would be great. So Teresa, I'm Fairtrade Long Beach. We started our campaign maybe about 3 years ago. I have a history with Fairtrade LA, Fairtrade Pasadena, Fairtrade Alexandria, Virginia, the New York City Fairtrade Coalition. So to say this is a passion is an understatement. So I didn't know what you asked because I was busy on the chat, but just basically we're known as the first brick and mortar retail collective that is a fair trade town campaign that operates a year-round brick and mortar. But I think Chicago has opened up a retail space too. So the more of us that do that, the more exciting it's going to be for us around the country to get our fan base and followers to support our campaigns. And like I said, for the Long Beach Post to do the Reader's Choice poll for people to write in categories, we were nominated as the best art collective. So that's how they see fair trade here. They see us as an art collective with the handcrafted products that we have. We're currently in a strong 3rd place with also the best Instagram, the best neighborhood business, and the best boutique and the best art gallery. So I hope you have a chance. Yeah, that's not a hot link. I'm working on my POS system. So I just put in like the keywords to do the search, Karen. So if you just do a search of best of LB 2021.longbeachpost.com, it'll bring up the survey to you. Okay. So, okay. And I think that's it. Okay. So we're just a town campaign with a mission.
But wait, I typed it into the search bar and it still didn't work.
Yeah, I think if you just do a Google search, it'll bring up, you know, the options for the Best of Long Beach 2021. Just do a Google search, Best of Long Beach Post. But it's at the link in my bio. If you go to our bio on our Instagram, that's the hot link for Fairtrade Long Beach. And that's how we've been getting everybody to get their votes in. So that's a good hot link on our Instagram, the link in our bio, where it generally be a website. It's a live link to go to that Long Beach Post.
It was just put in the chat here too. And also anything that you all say, any of these links that you put in the chat or anything that you talk about, I'll be sure to add it to the follow-up so that you all got, you have access to that. So no worries. Well, thank you, Teresa. Super exciting to hear from Long Beach. You've always been such an inspiring campaign. It's always great to hear from you. All right, let's move on. Christine, would you like to tell us about why you're here?
Sure. Hi, I'm Christine. I'm in Austin, Texas, and we don't have a campaign that I know of. I'm a board member for a nonprofit store, and in our recent board meeting, it came up that this is something that we would like to do. And so the chair of so we actually have a person who's going to head up the committee, but she was unable to make the call tonight. And so I said that I would join the call and listen in and see what I can learn. Rose and Thorn, since we don't have a campaign, I'm not sure exactly how to express that, but I feel like we've had a really great, we kind of pulled through the crisis mode and have been coming back strong and just, figured out how to make rent for another year. So that's Rose.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how did you hear about fair trade campaigns in the first place? Maybe instead of a Rose Thorn.
So our store manager was familiar with it. And so she brought it up. And so I don't know how she heard about it, but she's familiar with Fairtrade Pasadena and Fairtrade LA. So it just through the Fairtrade world, I guess.
Very cool. We're excited to have you, and hopefully we can get an Austin campaign starting up here.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. And you mentioned Fairtrade LA. Alicia, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Alicia. I am the director of Fairtrade Los Angeles. The status of our campaign. Well, in 2020, we officially became a fair trade city, and we are now officially the largest fair trade city in not just America, but North America, and the 4th largest in the world. We Rose and Thorns. So obviously, as a campaign, it's really hard to be in Los Angeles and not be able to meet. And, Los Angeles is just one of those places where it's a little bit more strict. But we've been able to turn that into, okay, now how can we be operating more virtually? So we started a YouTube channel, so follow us. We have our most recent really awesome talk that we had on World Fair Trade Day with the LA City Council member who advocated and championed our LA resolution, and the Chief Operating Officer at the Little Market, and the Executive Director of Fair Trade America on that panel. So it was a really, really good discussion. So you guys can find that on the YouTube channel. But we're hoping to create more of these sort of resources for people. And so I feel like we're just turning, the negatives into positives. Now we can create more virtual resources for people. And since you guys are in the loop of the insiders, I'd like to share with you guys that we officially had a conversation with the Olympic Committee, because 2028, the Olympics is going to be in Los Angeles. And right now that we've made LA a fair trade city, our big goal is now, can we make the Olympic fair trade? And so the London Olympic was fair trade. That was a very successful one. So we've been in touch with the London committee that made it happen, and recently, actually last week, had a conversation with the Olympic Committee. So the conversation's starting, so keep us in your thoughts.
Yes, that's incredible. So exciting to hear. I can't wait to hopefully see that come to fruition. All right, Karen, do you want to give us a little intro?
Yes, thank you. Okay, name. My name is Karen Lundy. Campaign. Well, with Kim, who's also on the call, I started Fairtrade Minneapolis. And yes, Kim, we'll talk about it too. The other thing I did is I nudged the start of Fairtrade St. Paul and Fairtrade Woodbury. I've personally been to all of the retailers in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Woodbury. That's enough to get our fair trade campaigns with the retailers and more. So then I'd like to, so our status, it's really important. We've got our team members. There's Kim and me and some other people. And we just got a new one. We got Adam Olson, who came in from Oxfam in Chicago. So he was a board member of Chicago Fair Trade. He's our newest member, and he, I think, will be a great help in the future. And then as far as retailers, we were supposed to find 40 retailers in Minneapolis that sold 2 or more fair trade products. And I think we're up to 150 or so in Minneapolis and counting St. Paul and everything. We're way over 200. So that's been a big success. But where we're really got that thorn, I want to bring up the thorn right now, is the organizations. Okay, I understand there's COVID. Churches are starting to get back together again. We've used Facebook and email and the telephone to call churches. I have lists and lists of what could be, but the fact is it's really, talk about a thorn. This is a thorn. We've got maybe 14 out of 40 that we need. So what would be a big help is for all of the fair trade towns to somehow be able to post who are their organizations, okay? Because these organizations are not working in a vacuum, okay? They're often got national affiliates, and even if they didn't have an affiliate, just to understand which organizations could be drinking fair trade coffee, where are you people finding your organizations? So please, if the fair trade towns haven't already done this, find a way that we fair trade towns could share our lists of organizations, because this is really difficult, especially right now. So now the rows, I have 2 roses I want to bring up. My city council person in Minneapolis is named Linnea Palmisano, and we've had discussions with her a couple months ago virtually. She is, and even with Zoom, real discussions. She is, yes, willing to bring the fair trade resolution forward. We sort of ballparked October, but since it's taking a long time for us to get this organizations, instead and also because this right now is a lame duck city council in Minneapolis. Okay, the new city council will start again in January. So it'd be much better than to engage the new city council. So we're looking at maybe spring of 2022 to bring that fair trade resolution forward, especially if we can find our organizations by then. And so my city council person is willing to bring that in, which is a really rose, okay, for me to know who's gonna do that. And then the other rose is these fair trade awards. We're doing something that we hope could go nationwide in America. We don't really want it to go nationwide until we have success with it, right? And of course, that's taken longer than we thought, but it's okay. We're trying to pursue our 501c3 in the meantime. So we've sent all the papers in, including, if you've never heard of Form 1023 EZ. This is something that even the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits seems unaware of. Okay, this Form 1023 EZ can make your town into a 501c3 nonprofit for $275. We submitted that on April 30th. It's supposed to take 2 to 4 weeks, but we don't have the answer yet. And I've asked after that. That's really true. It's COVID and it takes a long time. But the point is, becoming your own 501c3 is not that difficult. Okay, it's in hand. All right. So anyway, the rose then is these fair trade awards. We've successfully contacted 7 different logo giving fair trade certifiers and verifiers. One of them's on this call. Her name is Rachel Spence. There she is. Rachel gave us the authorization to use, yes, the Fair Trade Federation logo after I provided her with our best, newest draft of the Fair Trade Awards. We're going to print those on Synapse OM. This is a polyester, so it's like a restaurant menu. You can wash it off. We're aiming for the exit door of our retailers and cafes, and we're going to give it out to more than 100 small businesses before we do the chains. Now, of course, I've been to all the chains, and of course, I know who they are, and I've talked to the different ones and all of that. But first, over 100 small businesses, there's a volume discount at 100, you see, and we will hand those out and post them at over 100 small businesses. Those are retailers and cafes before we deal with any chains. So anyway, that's the rose, is that this is going along. Kim's a big part of it. We're both doing it and we're really excited about it. And these will be the Fair Trade Awards for Minneapolis and St. Paul and Woodbury, which they're not exactly active campaigns, but they can raise awareness of fair trade. See, the deal in Minnesota, awareness is so low. Okay, we have 2 roasters for coffees that are roasting fair trade coffee. We have Peace Coffee and Up Roasters. Up Roasters has a logo on their package for fair trade. Peace Coffee has no logo. They just write fair trade because they're unwilling to pay the logo fee for Fair Trade USA or whatever. So Peace Coffee, 100% fair trade certified coffee into their package. Okay, so there we've got their list. Both Up Roasters and Peace Coffee provided their list of cafes, dozens and dozens. When you go to those cafes, many of them do not inform their customers that they're drinking fair trade coffee. It's not written on the menu. It's not written on a sign. It's not written anywhere. If the customers ask, is this fair trade coffee? The answer is yes, it is. But that is not raising awareness. There are many people then in Minneapolis drinking fair trade coffee, not knowing that they're drinking fair trade coffee. And these same people can tell you why to buy organic, but they don't know about fair trade. So that's what our awards are supposed to take care of. That's to raise awareness. It's at the exit door. So you have happy customers that have just
Okay, Karen, I'm going to pause you right there. We've got a lot of folks to get through.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. The awards sound really exciting. Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add? I want to make sure you have a chance to introduce yourself as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. Yep, I'm Kim. And like Karen said, I'm also in Minneapolis. Yeah, and I would just echo a lot of what Karen said. And then really for us thinking through like how to build up our people power and our volunteer capacity, and would love to hear ideas, suggestions about how other groups have successfully done that.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you so much. Rachel, did you want to hop on next?
Sure, happy to go next. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel. I work for the Fair Trade Federation and am involved with Fair Trade Philadelphia mainly. And also my coworkers, our office is based, Fair Trade Philadelphia is based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And they asked me if I would report out for them as well about the status of their campaign. So I'll do both if that's all right, but I'll keep it short. So for Fair Trade Philadelphia, the status, it's an established campaign and has been for, I believe, over 5 years now. I think they hit that anniversary either last year or earlier this year. For Rose, earlier this month, we had our first in-person event since the pandemic, and it was an in-person hybrid event so that those who were not able or not comfortable to go in person were able to join. I joined virtually, and it was really nice and successful. I wasn't sure how that was going to go, so I was pleasantly surprised as a participant. And then a thorn would be, we've had some luck in getting some new people to come to one-off events, but for those who hadn't really been engaged ahead of time, pre-pandemic, we've had trouble getting them to keep coming to events, but we have had some luck there. So any advice on that would be appreciated. And for Lancaster, so they are in the early stages of the campaign. Lancaster is not yet a fair trade city. The rose would be that we are just starting to work on planning the first event, which we're hoping will be in October. So that's exciting. And the thorn would be, I think they're struggling to get folks to do the product counting. So looking forward to that. But I think it's, once the momentum's going, we'll see that follow. So great. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Rachel, and thanks for bringing Lancaster into it too. It's good to hear. All right, Anne? Anne, do you want to tell us about?
There we go.
You are.
Hi. Thanks. I'm Ann Lemke, and I'm from Fond du Lac. I help with the Fond du Lac Fair Trade Town campaign and also the Moraine Park Technical College school campaign. And we were designated a fair trade town in 2013, I think, and a fair trade college in 2015. Let's see, a rose in the recent history is that I have a student working on creating a new Fond du Lac Fairtrade Town website for us. I can post the URL in the chat. It's not all done yet, but he's working really hard on it. So a web developer intern is working on that. And then a thorn has been that in our origination, and all of our volunteers and ties have been a lot with a little nonprofit retail store that I was also very involved with over the past decade, Just Fair Market here in Fond du Lac. And especially during COVID, they've really been struggling. So just kind of all of the, what you want to say, like passion and excitement and engagement in fair trade, definitely we need to like reignite that energy. So we actually have a meeting next week with 3 volunteers who want to help. So I'm hopeful that we can get some more energy going for Fond du Lac Fair Trade after we have our meeting next week. There's lots of ideas and brainstorming going on. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, for everybody else not on camera, I don't want to specifically call you out if you're not able to talk, but did anybody else want to introduce themselves, tell us about your campaign? Sandy, there you are. Hi.
Hi, Sandy Russell. I live in the Los Angeles area. Actually good friends with Joan Harper. I'm actually a supporter of fair trade and have been for a number of years, but and I don't have a particular campaign. Obviously, LA does a great job already. But what caught my attention on the email that I received about this particular event is about schools. So I work heavily within the school districts with the PTA. And my particular area is from Burbank to Pomona and all of the foothills and everywhere in between. And what caught my attention was that working with schools, and what does that mean? And wondering if I could work out a relationship with that in mind, and also with an intention of, we use a lot of vendors for fundraising efforts and for fairs and that kind of thing, and wondering if we could tie fair trade in with that as well. So I'm mostly here to listen and learn, and no rose and thorn for right now.
Great. Well, thank you so much for being on the call. We'll definitely connect afterwards to get a little bit more specific about schools, but hopefully you'll learn a lot from this one as well. All right. Anybody else not on camera care to introduce themselves?
Hi, everyone. My name is Travis Brodbeck. I'm from the upstate New York area. I'm working with the Boston Spa campaign, which was the first fair trade town in New York. They were active about a decade ago or so. So basically, one of the founding organizers and I are kind of getting everything back and started up. But the cool part that I guess the rose and the thorn at the same time is we have a lot of people in the community who are coming back who are saying that they're interested and want to be involved, including city council and a few businesses. But the thorn is, I feel like right when everything opened up, everyone kind of disappeared from the room, which is good. Like, people deserve to have that time. So that's just something we're just trying to struggle with, is we thought the summer would be a lot more active when it's actually a lot bit more crickets, which is just a small surprise for us. But happy to be here, everyone. And I dropped my email if you want to connect.
Thanks so much, Travis. Always good to have you. Okay, last call for intros. Anybody else want to talk about their campaign or why they're here? All right. Well, we can kind of jump into the discussion portion of our call. I'm glad we've got roughly 30-ish minutes to just kind of chat and learn from one another. So I have a couple of questions sort of lined up, but I kind of wanted to ask you all if there are any specific questions that you have right off the bat. And I'm going to pull from Karen yours. That's how to best enlist local organizations. And if anybody has any tips and tricks on how they've done that best, or if you think there are any organizations worthy of sharing that might be national organizations that might be in other places as well. So I'm going to open the floor for that question first.
This is Travis. All I know is what I used to do when I was working on college campaigns. I used to peek at other campaign pages and look at their retailers and community organization, or for them, it was their events. But I imagine you can do the same thing and peek at other campaign pages and see some of the details they've entered on their website to steal for some inspiration. And also, it's a friendly reminder for me to update my campaign site because everyone's is so much better than mine.
For us at Fairtrade LA, what gave us really big momentum was identifying like a large basically we identified WeWork. It's a co-working space that's serves Fairtrade tea. And so we were able to find all the trafficking, like anti-trafficking organizations, and aligning our values with them and getting them to serve fair trade.
All right, I think a lot of it with organizations as well kind of have to do with local organizations. I think a lot of that is like you were saying, Karen, the local churches or local nonprofits and things like that, that you can just kind of do a deep dive into your own community and see what other folks are doing around you and kind of what other organizations around you kind of share the same values as well.
One resource I could suggest, we looked like on if you have like a economic development in your town, like an association of commerce type of a group, if you look on their website, a lot of times they have a listing of like everyone who's already members of the economic development efforts. So there might be like restaurants and retailers and just all kinds of businesses on there. And like usually they have their contact information and their addresses on there. So then that's a way to populate, to get started with a spreadsheet of contacts that you can send a letter or stop and visit or give them a call or whatever to get your outreach started.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thank you. And then Rachel also added a link in the chat that might be helpful as well. One of the questions that I'm really curious to hear from all of you is if you all had...
Can I look? What I understand is I can get to the pages of all the other fair trade towns, yeah, and I can see what the status of their campaign is. Okay, they've got 14 organizations, but how can I click in to see those 14 organizations?
Yeah, some of them are posted on the website. You just kind of have to dig and see what folks have. You can also
well, but come on, they've posted them. Yes, they gave them to you. Like I give mine to you. Okay, but just because I give mine to you, I don't understand how other people have access to that. I don't seem to have access to just beyond beyond the fact that the fair trade town has X number of organizations or retailers. I don't understand how to click in to see what they are.
Yeah, there is a map that's on the campaign pages. If you, Travis is actually super helpful. Sorry, my dog is drinking.
I can speak about it too a second. So I added a link to the chat that is the Fairtrade Nashville town campaign. And when you click on their campaign, you can actually see the specific goals. And right below the photo gallery is their Fairtrade locations. And you notice the light blue or the teal colored pins on the map. Those are the community organizations. And what I did is, for example, I clicked on one of the blue teal ones, and one of them is Christ the King Church in Nashville. And we can see that they do coffee. We have a phone number and a website and an address there. But I think what the real question is there a way that we can aggregate all of these locations and send it as a massive spreadsheet to the rest of the group in lieu of doing this?
Thank you so much. I looked up top and I saw the bars going across and I thought, on which ones are those? You're right. If one by one I could click on those TO things, I really appreciate that. That's a great resource. Now, on the other hand, yes, if there could be a master list, much better than clicking on one by one of each one. If I could get 100, 300 at once, that'd be more helpful. Thank you.
All right, thanks for adding that, Travis. That's super helpful. So one of the questions that I had for everybody is surrounding events. I think that's a lot of people's roses and thorns, or we've either had a successful event in the last year and a half, or we've been struggling to have successful events in the last year and a half, or even before then. I know event planning and execution is a little bit difficult for campaigns, especially community campaigns. So I just am curious if anybody has had, if you haven't talked about it already in your introduction, a super successful event that you think other campaigns could replicate, or if you had any specific questions around event planning, I think that could be really a really helpful conversation.
We had a successful online event during COVID with good participation. We partnered with Equal Exchange, and they were like the leader of the event, and spent about an hour talking about Equal Exchange. And I think we focused on coffee was what we did, and then a discussion afterwards. And it was really great. It turned out that I thought hopefully more students and faculty would come, but it actually ended up to be more community members and a lot that were involved in the local co-ops in our area. We're really interested in talking to Equal Exchange. So Equal Exchange is a super great partner if you ask them to help you, especially if you have like stores in your area that are carrying Equal Exchange products. They really want to help spread the word and get the education out there. So just a little tip.
Yeah, that's great. And it's always helpful if you have some free chocolate to give away. Does anybody else have any?
Yeah, Teresa. So I'm at the store, so that's why I'm masking up. We do have customers in the store and they're listening to our little call here for sure. Throughout COVID, maybe we took a 2-month break, but prior to COVID, we had been building up this second Saturdays in our village where we support small local business. So we have the whole village for a sidewalk sale. And after COVID, then, the CDC was saying shop outside. It's safer to shop outside. So we were promoting socially distanced outdoor shop small marketplaces throughout COVID, starting last July, August, September, leading into the holidays. We select a theme. We go along with different campaigns. One of them, we focused on human trafficking, and they had all their information booths at our event. Or we could have fun themes. Like last month, we did Christmas in July. I curated and I put it along with my partner Barbara from Back to Basics Tutoring here, and we decided from the get-go we would never charge our vendors a fee to be there. This is truly supporting small business, and so we have 40+ vendors every time, and it gets them curious about fair trade. You see some of them like Soko, who makes soaps for us and has soap. She sells soap. She's from Cambodia, and now she's delving into fair trade and sourcing from her home country. So a little thing like a fun activity where it's every second Saturday from noon to 4, all of our sidewalks, and it brings in the community. The restaurants benefit from it, and it just puts a nice spotlight on fair trade. Our Instagram is almost up to 5,000 followers just because of our community impact and events planning, and we're as safe as possible. I mean, I run a business, you have to be the safest. So if anybody wants ideas on how exciting it is to put on an event with like 40+ vendors with a DJ and safe food protocol and stuff like that, you're going to have to maybe look to the future and see, having fun again. We still are safe, but it is a little bit more relaxed. So thanks for your time.
Yeah, that's incredible. Quick question for you, Teresa. Do you all have an end in sight for those second Saturdays, or is that something you just plan on continuing until who knows when?
Well, what's fun is I started second Saturdays. I believe Rachel Spence was visiting our store on our first second Saturday, and it started out as a meet the meet the partners, you know, come to the store and we'll have some cookies and Fairtrade chocolate and cocoa. But then when the village here saw the potential of how many vendors we have under one roof and how we could organize it outside, we started with a party in the parking lot. And then it was going full speed ahead right before the shutdown last March. We were going to turn it into a full-blown farmers market, but then that all halted. So then it started into a shop, small sidewalk sale, and now it's moving back towards a festival. It's as long as Barbara and I want to do it, and it's a Long Beach thing. If you know Long Beach, you know that Bixby Knolls has First Fridays and 4th Street Retro Row has 4th Fridays. And so I was the one that jumped on second Saturdays. And so there's like there's third Thursdays in downtown. So it's really caught the spotlight, and I just want it to be a part of the fabric of Long Beach forever, just like First Fridays has done for Bixby Knolls and small business.
But is this every second Saturday or just once a month or?
Every second Saturday. So the next one is August 14th, and our theme is Tiki Time because we want it to sound and feel cool, you know, so like refreshing drinks and maybe play some life-size Jenga and all that. It's just a family thing that everybody gets to learn about fair trade while they're doing it.
Very cute. Love that idea, Teresa. Thank you for sharing. All right. Anybody else? Thank you. Rachel.
Yeah, I mentioned we have an upcoming event, and now with everything going on with COVID, we're still considering and in the planning stages. So to be determined if it goes through in September when we're talking about. But we've done in the past some walking tours around Philadelphia where we'll pick a few fair trade stores and walk and get like a little talk by someone there to talk about their products and things like that. And you know, I think in the past they've gone to 3 different stores, or maybe 2 stores and a cafe, something like that. But it's been really great. So we're planning one in September, and I think that'll be really nice. And we've done some other successful events that have been online where we spotlight a business, and sometimes we've done a buying club along with that too. So those have been some of our successful ones.
Awesome. And if anybody is interested in a buying club or learning about doing a buying club, Rachel and Billy from Fairtrade Philadelphia actually did a presentation with Fairtrade campaigns telling people how to run a buying club and how it's worked for them. And that's on our YouTube channel. So I'll be sure to add that link in the follow-up as well, so you can get a little deeper dive into that if you're interested. All right, so if anybody has any questions for the group discussion, you can go ahead and add them in the chat, but I'm just going to kind of go from this list that I have as well until anybody else has one that they wanted to bring to the table. But something that I'm really curious in is what sort of resources are you wanting from fair trade campaigns to aid, whether it's in taking your campaign to declaration or post-declaration resources. What is it that you're interested in getting from fair trade campaigns, and how can we help you be successful?
This is Travis Brodbeck. I want to share just a quick experience from when I was in college and universities. I used to work, volunteer also for Real Food Challenge, which their goal was to do local, sustainable, humanely harvested food on colleges and universities. And one thing that they did that I found to be pretty awesome was, and fair trade campaigns has done this in some extent, is how they used to engage with large universities and like directly with dining services companies and kind of develop these partnerships at a national level rather than from a grassroots level. And I believe Karen brought it up earlier, with the idea if there are any organizations that have been relatively successful with fair trade campaigns on regional levels, are there possibilities that we can create these national partnerships so it would be a little bit easier that we can kind of print out a form saying, hey, your national corporate parent said that we're all partners here. This is how we work together. I know that takes a lot of resources, a lot of work, especially after the pandemic. It's probably not even on your radar, but I think that might be a pretty powerful tool to help cascade some of the community organizations at least. I feel like retailers is pretty low bar because CVS can do a fair trade chocolate bar and a Ben and Jerry's ice cream. But I think a lot of communities do struggle with towns because of the community organization part.
I think that would be really great. And if you don't mind me adding one more thing as well. So my colleagues, Chris and Alyssa, who are leading the Fairtrade Lancaster campaign, also wanted me to let you guys know that they are kind of working on things on their end and hoping to ramp up soon, and have picked kind of April as a goal to be declared by for next year. So we're in the works, and so we'll look for any additional resources that could be helpful for making that declaration possible. I think they're already in talks with the local government and things like that. So it's looking promising that they might be able to hit that goal.
Yeah, that's excellent. Good to hear. Anybody else on resources?
It's Travis again. So maybe another resource to help campaigns that are trying to fundraise without paying, causing dues on their membership, for example, is if there have been any campaigns that have been successful with obtaining corporate sponsorships, maybe kind of creating a toolkit for that. And there probably is. I know the library is so big nowadays. But if there isn't a toolkit for corporate sponsorships and how to approach and kind of say, we can offer you, access to our members, poster, flyers, stuff like that. I think it would also help a lot of campaigns who don't have the time to develop, something from scratch. We can reinvent the wheel in some respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we have a toolkit like that quite yet. So it's something we can kind of look into moving forward.
Wonderful. And Taryn, I can share one with you from another organization I work with that it's more college and university focused, but maybe there's some stuff we can borrow some language.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. Thank you. All right. Well, we just have a couple more minutes here. Let's take a look at these other questions that we have lined up. I guess kind of along some of the lines that we were just chatting about, I think fundraising is a really important thing for towns campaigns, especially. And I'm curious who of you have had really successful fundraising campaigns, or if you haven't had successful fundraising campaigns and you don't necessarily think fundraising is necessary. I know some of our towns have really big budgets and some of our towns have no budget whatsoever. So I'm kind of interested in your experience with either fundraising or not having a budget and kind of along those lines.
I'd like to put in a word here. It takes roughly $600, give or take, to register your name with your Secretary of State, to incorporate, and to get your 501c3. So it'd be much better if all of our towns tried to raise at least $600. Now, I think the way you could raise that is with these fair trade awards that we're developing. So hopefully, if it works for us and we can hand it out, that could be an easy first fundraiser for any fair trade town, is to have these fair trade awards for your retailers and cafes that sell 2 or more fair trade products.
I will jump in. In the past, we've done big events where we sell tickets and try to get people together. And obviously with COVID, that's not really feasible. But recently we brought in Fairtrade or someone from Chicago Fairtrade to train us on like these email campaigns that all of our boards participate in. And they are like 3-day, we call it 3-day flash fundraisers. And that has been successful. Last year, just with COVID and wanting to get more engagement, we actually did a movement challenge. So we had people commit to moving their bodies one way or another, and they could choose their own challenge and raise not just money, but awareness while doing that. It's kind of like December, how they have a challenge where you dress in a dress, all of December to raise money for and awareness for human trafficking. So yeah, those are some suggestions that we've had. But definitely with COVID, we have taken a hit in that.
The main way that Fairtrade Philadelphia has done fundraising, and we talked about this more in detail in at the event, the buying club event, was through our buying club. So if anyone is interested, that's kind of the main way. But yeah, we are one of the campaigns that is on a pretty small budget, and we're not a registered nonprofit. And so it's kind of more just raising a little bit of funds to help so we can sometimes buy snacks for events or rent out a space, something like that. But it's been pretty minimal, or to promote an event on social media, something like that.
Has anybody brought up what Fairtrade Caravans is trying to do? I know that their director reached out directly to me also, and I love the business model of is it like sponsoring a sale and then you get to keep 30% of the profits or so? And also, Rachel, that's kind of a bit like your buying club. So I love that model. It just really seems like a good idea, the Fairtrade Caravans.
Yeah, we have had campaigns that have done successful fundraisers with Fairtrade Caravan, so we'll definitely send that information around in the follow-up. Good call out, Teresa. And Rachel, thanks for bringing up that you have a small budget. It's nice to hear from a successful campaign like Philadelphia that you don't need a ton of money to be successful. So that's really excellent. Thank you. All right, well, we just have 5 minutes left. I want to tell you all a little bit about some things that we have coming up, and then kind of open the floor for any super quick last minute thoughts or questions that maybe we can continue the conversation over email with folks. But just so you know, moving forward, Fairtrade Campaigns has a couple more things planned for the summer, and then as we work on re-engaging folks in the fall. So we are kind of focusing on colleges and universities and schools since they'll be reopening in the fall, but definitely stay tuned for those resources and things, because just because it's mainly focused on CUs and schools, it doesn't mean that you can't find some helpful nuggets in there for towns as well. And we just finished up our first Takeover Tuesday initiative with towns, and we had Fairtrade LA and Fairtrade Media and some other Fairtrade town campaigns take over our Instagram stories on Tuesdays to kind of tell us about what they've been up to. So we're going to be continuing that in the next couple of weeks with CUs and schools. So just take a look, see if any of the campaigns are in your area. Maybe you can work on connecting with folks, CUs and schools in your communities, and do a little bit of tag teaming there. And then also stay tuned. The Just One Cup coffee campaign for International Coffee Day is coming up. That's not until October, but just to put it on your radar. And then Fairtrade Month is October as well. Kind of seems far away, but I mean, I don't know how it's almost August. So it's always good to be thinking well ahead. So stay tuned for some exciting resources coming up. And yeah, I think that's all I have for things that are coming up. Mostly just a stay tuned announcement for some exciting things. And I'm gonna make sure to go through this chat before I log off so that I can save all of these links and all the information and the emails that folks have put in. So we'll get that out to you in a follow-up email sometime today, or I mean tomorrow, not today. But any final remarks in the last 2 minutes that we have? Thank you all so much for being on this call. I just want to give you a chance to say goodbye or leave us with words of wisdom if you'd like.
I want to bring up World Fair Trade Month in October and what we've been doing for the last 3 years. So it's a double whammy. So also Fair Trade Month is also national or international cooperative month. So we partner with the Long Beach Grocery Co-op, and we have our big outdoor harvest festival for World Fair Trade Day or World Fair Trade Month in October. So it's a natural marriage maybe if you find some cooperatives and celebrate together because they're mutual in their values.
I have a question. Would you be willing to have a call like this, like every 2 months? Like, so that next one would be in late September?
Yeah, it's definitely something we could consider.
That'd be wonderful. This was so helpful beyond belief, actually. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Well, thank you all so much for being on the call. I hope that it was helpful. We'll connect afterwards. And if you have any further questions for me or for the greater group, you can go ahead and send an email to myself and I can try to help you. And I think that's all we have time for. Thank you all so much for being on. I hope it was helpful.
Nice to connect with you all.
Bye.